Reporting live from Hyper Clubhouse in Atlanta for Hype Plus News, I'm John Abba. Yesterday, we reported on President Joe Biden pardoning his son, Hunter Biden, after his convictions of 3 felony gun charges and 9 tax offenses earlier this year. Biden's pardon applies to all crimes in the United States that Hunter has committed or may have committed from January the 1st, 2014 to December the 1st, 2024. Now, of course, as soon as the news hit, the country was split on the decision, with some supporting President Biden because they would have done the same for a beloved family member, and others would criticize the president for going back on his word, stating he wouldn't get in the way of his son's cases. Now, Stephen A. Smith fit in the latter category. The media personality would go off on President Biden for the pardoning of his son on his own podcast, The Stephen A. Smith Show, calling him out for the pardoning. On Monday night, Stephen A. Smith would say, respectfully to the President of the United States, specifically as it pertains to that statement, you're full of it. I'm going to look right here over the national airwaves and look the President of the United States in the face and say, you're full of it.
Because when you pardon your son, going back on your word, telling the American people there was no way that you were going to pardon him when everybody and their grandmama knew you were lying, people believed that you were probably going to be lying about that very thing that you said you wouldn't do for your son. All you had to do was say, he's my son. All you had to do was say, that's my son. I'm not sending him to jail. When I walk away from the White House, ending my political career, I'm taking my son home with me. Everybody would understand that. Instead, you have to try to come across like he was victimized because of you, like you're so innocent, like you're such a paragon of virtue.
Smith would take issue with Biden issuing the pardoning now, after months of talking about Trump's convictions and using those convictions to sway voters. Smith would accuse Biden of having this plan all along, finally acting on it now. You didn't talk about this then. As a matter of fact, you specifically said you wouldn't pardon your son before the election. You're announcing it now that we know Donald Trump is coming in and about to be sworn in as the 47th president. You were intending to do this all along, which again is no problem, but it doesn't make you any less full of it. Now, Smith's comments would cause an uproar on social media, with many not liking what he had to say. Some social media users will call out Stephen A. for always being on the wrong side with his opinion, with some even going as far as calling him a coon and Uncle Tom. For Stephen A., going against the grain and what the majority thinks is all too common for him. So what do you guys think about Stephen A. Smith calling out President Joe Biden for pardoning his son? And do you think he is a coon for these comments? Let's talk about it more in the comments below. Plus, stay up to date for the latest news in comedy, culture, and sports by subscribing here to our YouTube channel and follow Hype Plus across all social media. Plus, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget you can go to hypersclub.com and check out some never before released content, as well as some cool and original merchandise that you can rep with us. Reporting live from Hyper Clubhouse in Atlanta for Hype Plus News, I'm John Abba.